Who really is Legolas? Is he more than just the stereotypical elf most people see him as? And what was Tolkien's true purpose in creating this character? Hi everyone, this is Robert, and welcome to In Deep Geek, where we explore The Lord of the Rings, A Song of Ice and Fire, and other great fantasy worlds like The Witcher. So, who is Legolas? He's introduced as a strange elf clad in green, a messenger from his father Thranduil, the king of the elves of northern Mirkwood. At the Council of Elrond, his main contribution is a brief report, explaining how Gollum escaped from captivity in Mirkwood. Elrond chose him to join the Fellowship of the Ring, not for any special power, but as a representative of the elves. But what made him seem strange to Frodo? By then, Frodo had already met several elves, Gildor, Glorfindel, and Elrond, all of Noldoran descent. Legolas, however, was from Mirkwood, a different kind of elf entirely. In Tolkien's world, not all elves were the same. There were distinct cultures, languages, and traditions. The elves of northern Mirkwood were Sylvan elves, wood elves, not high elves. That's why Tolkien describes Legolas immediately in shades of green and brown, blending with the forest. Legolas himself, coming from the royal Sindarin line, was technically of higher heritage, yet he lived among the Sylvan elves. We're never told his exact age, but from his own words it's clear he's ancient by human standards. He speaks of seeing trees grow from seed to death and calls the others children. Some sources, like the official movie guide, estimate his age around 29-31 years, though Tolkien never confirmed that. For most of his life, Legolas lived in northern Mirkwood, isolated from the wider world. His people avoided dwarves, traded cautiously with the men of Lake Town, and had little contact with other elves, even those of Lothlorien. Despite it being nearby, over time Mirkwood darkened under Sauron's influence. Orcs and giant spiders infested the forest, and the once great woodland realm faded. Their culture was simple, natural and forest-bound, preferring light armor and quiet craftsmanship to grand fortresses or forges. We first glimpse this world in The Hobbit when Bilbo and the dwarves stray into Mirkwood and are captured by the elves. Legolas would almost certainly have been there. So while the Hobbit movies took liberties by making him central, they weren't entirely wrong. Thranduil, the unnamed Elven king from The Hobbit, is Legolas's father. This royal heritage is what sets Legolas apart. He's not just a random elf, but the Prince of Mirkwood. And when Gimli and Legolas later meet, their initial distrust isn't just racial, it's personal. Legolas' father once imprisoned Gimli's father, and their peoples almost went to war. Legolas enters the Lord of the Rings when Gollum escapes from Mirkwood. He reports this failure at the Council of Elrond, which leads to his place in the Fellowship. From there, he embodies what Tolkien envisioned as the ideal elf: graceful, wise, deadly with a bow, and deeply connected to nature. But Tolkien doesn't stop there. As Legolas journeys beyond his homeland, he changes. He experiences the wider world and new friendships in ways that reshape him. When Gandalf returns as Gandalf the White, he carries a message from Galadriel for Legolas. Legolas Greenleaf, long under tree in joy thou hast lived, beware of the sea. If thou hearest the cry of the gull on the shore, thy heart shall then rest in the forest no more. Later at Pelargir, Legolas hears the gulls for the first time, and his heart is stirred with sea longing, the ancient call that draws all elves westward to the Undying Lands. He realizes he will never again find peace beneath the trees of his home. Yet Tolkien adds another layer. Despite this longing, Legolas chooses to stay a while longer and for friendship. His bond with Gimli, the dwarf, becomes one of the most powerful symbols of unity in Tolkien's world. Once enemies, they become brothers in arms and fighting together at Helm's Deep, traveling through Fangorn and the Glittering Caves, even bringing their people together to rebuild Minas Tirith after the war. And when Aragorn dies, legend says they journeyed west to Valinor together, an elf and a dwarf side by side. Through Legolas, Tolkien both created and subverted the elven archetype. He embodied everything we think elves are: ageless, graceful, powerful, yet also defied it through friendship, change, and growth. When you picture an elf in fantasy fiction, you're picturing Legolas. Tolkien didn't just write the stereotype, he defined it. And then, he transcended it. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to explore more about The Lord of the Rings, click the link on the left. And if you want to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon on the right. That's all for this time. See you again soon.